I'm muted. Hey, y'all. So listen, um, Happy New Year, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Hanukkah, whatever you went through. We are in a new year. So right now we are doing Wednesday nights, and we're still keeping on the same rhythm, of Wednesday nights. But I really asked Spirit what we need to talk about. So anytime I do a um a Wednesday night, I really have to ask Spirit, get in tune with Spirit and ask Spirit, what is it that needs to be talked about, or literally what needs to be addressed. Um, Sorry, y'all, I had somebody come, a man came in my house, but he's getting his hair done. Anyway, so one of the things that I always ask Spirit, what is it that we need to know? um, what are the topics that we need to know what needs to be revealed. What I will tell you is that we are in the season of things being birthed, new visions, new ideas, new relationships, new partnerships, new things are coming. So years ago, I remember telling you guys, I want to say it was probably a year ago or two, we talked about planting the seeds, and so that when springs, um, everything that you have planted in this time, it will it will grow. Okay, it will. I hear the word germinate. Okay, so it will germinate and then it will begin to grow. All right. So many of you know that we celebrate New Year, um, because that was the time that the slaves realized that they were free. I don't normally wear these things, so I don't know how to wear it. I don't feel like I look great in this thing. So I got to get used to this. Anyway, so what we've heard is that spring is a time of the new year. So the new year is really generally, in layman's terms, if we think about Bible, is in spring. Okay. And the new year of what we celebrate is because of that was when the slaves really realized that we knew they were free from what I've been reading. Anyway, I digress. So the beginning of the year, what I did was New Year's Eve, I made a declaration to myself and to you all that I was going to get back in the groove. I was going to go live on TikTok again. I was going to do all of the things that I needed to do. Um, and that is my joy, even though it's fearful. And so I know that that's something that I need to be doing because it's been told to me several times. So at the beginning of the year, I made a declaration that I was going to do that. And so I cleaned my entire home New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. I did nothing. I relaxed and I rested. So I'm really, really seeking the ancestors in the spirit realm in reference to a lot of the things um, that need to take place in this walk in understanding spirituality and understanding a lot of the aspects of how we utilize the word and how we put the word in action for ourselves. So I want us to really, really get in the groove and understand that this walk is not for the weak, it is not for the weary, and it is not for those who do not want to take action, who do not want to take the necessary steps to change the direction in which they're going. So um, practicing your candle work, practicing a lot of your verbal work, your visualization, the things that you're speaking, how you're moving, and not being afraid of it. I know it's a terrifying thing um, when we start doing a thing, but that is how we know we're on the right track. That's how we know that that we are doing the right thing. One of the things I can say is that um, what I just heard in my spirit is like when you took your first flight, most terrifying thing, wasn't it? The most. Okay, so it's like the taking your first flight. And I remember taking my first flight. I was terrified. I was with my little brother and I was afraid because you don't know. But I will tell you, taking that first flight, I remember I saw the hand of God. It was like Jesus, well, I want to say Jesus, God, whatever you want to call it, had the plane and it was just guiding the plane where it needed to go. And I was really praying. I didn't know um, the depth of who I was then to the person that I am today. Then I know that if I ever tell my story to people, I really wasn't, I mean, I went to church. I was like mandated to go to church, but in going to church, we were Baptists, okay? So in going to church, you learn like the basic. You learn like the surface part of the word. You understood it. You just did kind of like um, the bare minimum of what Bible was, right? You knew the verses. If you didn't, you knew the songs, all of those things. Hold on, Miss Angela. So you knew a lot of those things. So as I kept going, one of the things that I can say is that I learned that God was always with me, even that I didn't know what I was doing, if that makes sense. So even because I didn't know what I was doing, there was always this voice and there was always this presence with me. So I always knew that I didn't know, but I knew that there was this voice that that would guide me. And so my mother was one of the key factors in church. So we would always go to church. And after a while, I remember my mother used to attack me. Even as a child, she used to attack me. And I always remember hearing this voice tell me, "Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth." So every time she would come and she would attack me and she'd be in my face, I would always hear Spirit tell me, "Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth." And then I want to say I don't remember how old we were, but we went to go to Detroit to see my auntie and we stayed for a while. And that was the first plane ride. And so what I was saying is that your first move, anything that you are doing right now, that you are birthing um, into a state of being in this now moment, anything that is being birthed, it is going to be a scary moment. It's just like when a woman gets pregnant and she finds out she's pregnant, she is terrified. You become terrified because you're like, am I going to be a good mother? Is there going to be something wrong with the baby? Is something going to happen to me? Am I going to be able to financially take care of the baby? So anything that we do when we are giving birth to anything, it causes fear. Understand that the fear is something that catapults you into giving birth to that thing. So you cannot give birth to anything um, that you planted the seed for. Now, some people do give birth to stillborns, stillbirth and things like that. And we don't know why these things happen. And it sometimes is because your body, when we think about a woman who gives birth stillbirth, your body is not ready to hold on to the seed that is being that was planted inside of you. I have had um, I did have a child that died, two children actually, that passed because they were twins, and they did not form, they did not apart, and so it caused me a lot of sickness, a lot of weary nights, a lot of just, I mean, I felt sick. Um, it was just like this time of my emotions. So Sometimes we do, our bodies are not ready to give birth or to hold on to the seed that was planted inside of us. So, with that being said, is there going to be ever a time that the seed won't be planted inside of you? Absolutely, it will. It's just you have to be ready to carry the seed. Okay. Because sometimes our body rejects the seeds. And when you have a child that is stillborn, something happens within utero, things like that. That's a whole nother story. So if anybody comes for me, please don't, because I don't know anything about it. I'm just giving you what Spirit told me. So when we are taking flight or when we are giving birth to anything, it is the most terrifying moment. My first plane ride was terrifying. And it was terrifying because number one, the person that my protector was not with me. There was no adult supervision. It was myself and my little brother. And so the person that was supposed to protect me or, you know, get us there just did not come, sent me and my little brother on. We're on a plane and it's terrifying. So I not only have to be guardian of my own self, I have to be guardian to a little kid. I remember he was probably 6 or 7 at the time. So not only me, but I got to be guardian to him. So we got the stewardesses, things like that. So a lot of my childhood, I realize, has become like a blur, but then the memory comes. So I remember my little brother and I got on a plane without my mother, without my stepfather, and we took a trip to Detroit. Scariest moment of my life. So, your first plane ride or the first time that you take off on anything is going to be terrifying. It's going to be the moment where you say, should I be doing this thing? Um, excuse me, am I going to make it? Um, is the plane going to fall out of the sky? All of those things happen. So I'm here, and like I said in the beginning, I want to be able to give what spirit tells me to give, and not flub it or not mess it up and not leave you at a place where you will still be craving something that you should have gotten at my table. So that is something that I wanted to get off my, not so much as off my chest, but I just wanted to kind of bring that out and to let you know that this is where we're at in 2025. Um, there will be more accountability. Um, we will, I will be holding everyone accountable, including myself, in the actions that we take, the steps that we take, the things that we do, being accountable in our work, in our spirituality, in our careers, in our businesses. You will be start being held accountable, because being held accountable means that you are going to take the action steps in order for you to get to the place that you say you want to be. So when you come to this table, you don't get to just eat. You'll be able to eat and be successful in that part of your life. So with that being said, I got to fix myself. Sorry. I am no longer going to be not myself, because I am me, and I cannot be anybody else but me. And being me means that I am authentic, I am nice, I am that girl. Okay. Um, so tonight we talked about taking flight. We talk about um, doing the work. Um, when we talk about doing the work, it reminds me of the scripture where it talks about the woman with the issue of blood. And I want to say, um, where was it? I want to say it was in Matthew. I believe it is. It's in Matthew. I just got to find it. Um, let's see, that was the centurion. Where was the lady? restores a demon-possessed man, paralyzed man, heals a sick woman. Is this it? I found it. I just happened to turn to it. It's Matthew chapter 9. Matthew chapter 9, and it starts in verse 18. So this was when Jesus was he was in the synagogue, and it says, while he was saying this, a synagogue leader came and knelt before him and said, "My daughter just died, but come and put your hands on her and she will live." This is the faith that people had in the word. Okay, this is like Jesus was the word in flesh. Got to go back to John 1 and 1, and you'll really understand what this is. John chapter 1. Okay. Jesus got up and he went with him and he said, and so did the disciples. So not only did Jesus go, but the 12 disciples went. And he said, just then, a woman who had been subject to bleeding for 12 years, you've been bleeding for 12 years, you have been going through something for so long. You have been inundated, you have been bogged down, you have been worn out, you have been tried, you have, I mean, just gone through each and everything for year after year after year. Can you imagine just bleeding for 12 years? Just bleeding, just going through for 12 years, 12 long years, you're just bleeding and you are just, it's like you're just going and you're bleeding and you're bleeding and you're bleeding and you're bleeding. It's almost like you're bleeding out at this point. Like you're literally bleeding out. 12 years, you've just been doing the same thing on a different day, at a different time, at a different year, but it's the same scenario. It's the same thing over and over and over. 12 years. So they said she's been bleeding for 12 years, came up behind him and touched the edge, not even the whole thing, but like the edge. Um, okay, I need to do something. Sorry, I got a lot of things going on here. So let me go here. Touch the edge of his cloak. She said to herself, okay, it's saying to yourself, I'm closing them down. Sorry, I've got to close these things down. Okay. So she says to herself, if I only touch the cloak, I will be healed. So it's like if I only touch a part of him, I know that I'm going to be made whole. I know that my healing is going to come if I just touch just a part of him, not the whole part of a word, but if I just touch just a piece of him, I know that I'm going to be made whole. Jesus turned and saw her. Take heart, daughter, he said, your faith has healed you. And the woman was healed at that moment. So at that moment, let's go back and read about this. So the woman had several things against her. Number one, she was a woman, okay? And we all know that that's like a deciding factor. um, she was hemorrhaging. She was like a woman who was just bleeding out. And a lot of us women, we are bleeding out. We are literally bleeding out of ourselves emotionally, mentally, financially, spiritually. We are bleeding out and we start bleeding out over all of these people. Um, and so it becomes this now it's so hard for us, right? And so she approached Jesus at one of the busiest times of his ministry. That's what it says. And her bleeding was considered unclean, and the rabbis would not touch or be touched by someone bleeding. So a lot of the people that we deal with, when you're bleeding out, and what I when I saw the vision of this women's group, it was I always wanted to have it where it was a group of women who wanted to um go to a certain place in their life, a different level in their life, right? Oh, that was Brianna. I'm sorry, Brianna. I've your name doesn't come up. It comes up as your mom's. I'm sorry. Anyway, so when it happened, I wanted when I
I don't know why, but yeah, sorry. I gotta
no,
fix
I'm sorry. Please forgive me. So when I thought when I envisioned this group, it was me as a business owner, coming and helping women navigate through the bleeding out process, right? Because one of the things that I found in business is that I was bleeding out because of the things that happened to me in my childhood. And when I sat down and I went to therapy, a lot of what I went through, and the number one thing was my mom. Like my mom was the deciding factor in everything that happened in my life. Um, and so it was like a lot of triggers that would happen with how how I processed, how I proceeded through life, how I proceeded through businesses. And so a lot of the things that women would do would be because of my mom. My mother was very envious, very jealous, very cold-hearted, very callous, very rigid. But she was also a teacher at the same time. So she taught me a lot of things, but in her teaching, she really kind of lowballed me in a lot of areas of my life. So we are reading the book called Girl, Get Your Money Right. And there's the part where in the beginning of the book where she says to build a relationship with money. And so I wrote a letter. I had the conversation with money. And what I realized is I didn't know money. And so you know how like you have a your mom has a relationship or you have your yeah, okay, so I'll say this. Like your mom has a relationship with somebody and you know of that person, you've heard of that person and you've seen your mother interact with that person, but you really don't know them. And so then when it's time for you to get to know this person or this person comes around, it's just like, I don't really know you. Like I don't know you. I don't know how you move. I don't know how you operate. So what I found is that was what my mom did with money, but that will be Sunday's lesson. I'm just kind of giving you breakdown right now. So the idea of this group was for women of color to come together to heal the limiting and mistaken beliefs that we have held, especially when it comes down to relationships in work and in business and in every area of our life. Okay. Especially when it comes down to us being entrepreneurs and in the workforce. Because what we're seeing is we're seeing a lot of women of color quitting their jobs or going silence of the lambs. Because guess why? We are the demographic that we will bleed out the most because we weren't taught anything about how to handle the emotional parts of it. So just think 12 years of our lives, we have been diagnosed with this personal issue. Okay. And it comes from every area, financial, mental, emotional, spiritual, because we came from the church. So there was a lot of things in the church that just trickled down into our lives, how we deal with our relationships, how we handle friendships, how we handle our money, how we deal with spirituality. It becomes this multifaceted thing. And so think about a woman, and we're just walking around I mean, years of our lives holding on and bleeding out because why? We've done everything that we've known to do. We did everything Mama told us to do. We did everything the church told us to do. We've prayed, we fasted, we did everything, but we're really not tapping into the core and the inner parts of us and really getting into the subconscious mind and how we think and how we process. And who told you that you couldn't have a healthy relationship? Who told you that you were too emotional? Who told you that you don't have common sense? So I'm going to pause right there. One of the things my mom used to say to me a lot was if you had common sense. So that's a trigger for me. And it's like, remember when I tell you guys, when God reveals a thing, that means he needs to heal it. So I'm at work and I do outreach at the libraries and I did a TikTok on it actually. And I went to the bathroom. And so at the libraries now, at the particular library I'm at, they require a key card to get into the bathrooms because there has been some illegal activities that go on in the bathrooms. And so they had to close the library down because of the issue. And so they just said, from moving forward, we'll just have a key card So that means you'd have to come to security, grab said key card, go to the bathroom, and you'd have to bring that back. So they know I had specific key card and I was the last one in the bathroom. Okay, so this particular day, I go to the bathroom and I see the lady come in and she's kind of waiting around. And I'm thinking, well, maybe she's new here. And she says, well, do I have to wait for someone to seat me? And I'm like, well, no, it's a public library. You can sit wherever you want to. She says, okay. So I see her kind of go into the bathroom and I'm thinking, oh, she's probably thinking that she could just get in there. So I had the key card. Well, I seen an elderly lady. She goes and she drops the key card back off. I go grab key card. I go to the bathroom, and I hear the lady, on the bathroom door. Um, Fast forward, I come out of the bathroom. There's this man sitting there. It's not your business, but that was a whole nother story. So anyway, he's sitting there and he says something and he just goes back and forth. And I said, well, mind your business because that's not the rule here. That's not how this works. I have to take this key card back to the front desk so they see me drop it off so they know that anything that happened in there wasn't me, right? So I go back. I tell the lady, I said, well, you have to take the key card. So the man says, well, you should just left the door open for us. I said, and you should just mind your business because this has nothing. What are you here for? So anyway, the triggering word for me was it's common sense. When I tell you the rage that came from the pit of my stomach and I lashed out at this man. Now, pay attention. I'm not lashing out at him. I'm lashing out at my mother. Because how dare you tell me that I don't have common sense? Like you're telling me that my brain doesn't work well enough for me to have the common knowledge or common understanding of the thing that I'm doing because it didn't fit your narrative or didn't fit the way you deemed this situation to happen. Are you serious right now? I was livid. So I go back to my room because I reserved a room and I sat down and I thought, oh God. And I don't want to say that I felt bad, but it was that moment that I realized that my mother had did a lot more damage than what I thought she did. And so anybody that says if you have common sense, that triggers the fart out of me. So when he said that to me, I'm thinking, okay, I'm not dealing with this man, I'm dealing with my mother. So when those kind of things happen, um, it happens because it's like, God, I have to reveal this to you. And so it's like, we need to get this cleaned. Okay. We've been dealing with this too long, right? You've been bleeding out for so long. When someone says it's common sense, you just bleed out. And it's just like, so you're bleeding out because someone says something to you and it triggers you, right? So he said that to me, and that was the moment of awakening for me to say, oh, my mother has done so much damage to me that I really have to go back and figure what the things that she's done to me. So in business, think about if this was a man or a woman in business, and she says to me, if you had common sense, I'm losing money. Okay. I'm about to lose money because now I'm about to react. Um, And one of the things that I want you guys to remember, do you remember Real Housewives of Atlanta when Sheree was going and she was having this party or whatever, and she's sitting down, and I don't know how the conversation went the way it went, but do you remember when she was talking to the guy and she was saying one thing and the guy is saying another thing, and so the guy is going back and forth with her, and he says something to her, and they get into this altercation. Can you imagine a businesswoman who makes millions of dollars having a conversation with someone like that, going to the bottom of all of your hurt and your pain, the parts of you that are bleeding out that you've probably put a little tourniquet around. And I don't know if I'm right with this, Brianna, but you put a tourniquet around it and you stop the bleeding for only a moment, but you don't go and get the proper healing. That's right. That's what that was, right? Am I
Yeah,
right,
she
Brianna?
got really heated. Yep, that's the turning head. Yeah, I remember Sheree got real heated. I think she was yelling. She went back and forth with that guy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that when you have the tourniquet, right? So the tourniquet only stops the bleeding for the moment, right? Because you've hit a main artery and we just got to wrap this thing around there and we got to stop the bleeding. And it only stops it for a point in time, right? And then you got to go into hospital doctor so they can fix what was broken, what was cut, what was bleeding out, right? This is what God is telling us. It's like you can't keep going and just wrapping a tourniquet around it, because eventually what happens with the tourniquet, if I'm not mistaken, because I did take CPR, when you put that tourniquet around it, sometimes that thing has to get amputated because guess why? There's blood loss. Am I right, Brianna? I am. I know I am. No, I'm just kidding. But
No, you're right. I was looking for the unmute button.
oh, so when you have a lot of there's no blood flow going to this area, it has to be amputated. Okay. So when we talk about ourselves as women of color, women in business, women in work positions, women in relationships, we have to really, really, really unloosen the tourniquet because there's some places that need to be cut off. Okay. I don't know who that message is for. Could be for me, but there's some things that they need to die. We need to cut that off. Okay. It's like, ooh, it's like, and Brianna, I don't know why God got me talking to you tonight about like this. So it's like when you go, think about if you don't cut the dead thing off, right? It's just there. It gets gangrene. It gets all ew. It gets infectious, right? It gets infectious, all the infection is there, and then you end up getting sepsis, and then you die.
Yes.
That's your lesson for the day. I don't know if that's a part of your schooling that you need to learn. Anyway, but it's like those things are literally the things that happen to us. If you put that in perspective, you've got this issue, you wrap a, we kind of surface it, we wrap the tourniquet around it, and we're just going around, and a part of it dies. Okay, it's literally dead. But why on the fart are we still holding on to something that is dead? My mama been dead 15 years, 15 whole years. And I see, and I'm like, because where'd that come from? I go back to the room and I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, that was the thing that she used to say to me that used to, it, and it triggers me. Oh, do not say if you had common sense, what? Or common sense would have told you, oh, because I'm losing my shit. And I don't want to cuss. I'm losing every colored marble that's in my cranium. I'm losing it. It's just, I'm losing it. So I had to go back and I thought, you know what, God, okay, that's something I need to deal with. That's a trigger. I cannot be in business and someone say that to me. If I have $1 million contract like a charade, and I don't know what she was doing. I know she was doing a party, but you are on national TV, bleeding out. I mean, just bleeding out. And people are watching you do this. You know that lady, Dr. Bryant, that went off on Cam Newton? Remember her? Light-skinned lady was telling Cam, you got all these kids and you bringing up. So she's on Basketball Wives. She had an event and one of the girls one of the girls had did something at the event, and she went up to them and she said something to them, and the girl said that's not how that happened. She was like, I don't care what you thought was distasteful, whatever. And guess what Dr. Bryant did? You are a doctor and you are literally cussing these people out. So guess what it did? It makes you aware. It makes you real aware of really where a woman's hurt space is. When you got a woman that's cussing you out and all of, you think she's, because I love Dr. Brian. I would love to work with a woman. I would love to just to sit down and have conversation. Love her. But in that moment, it was just like, ooh, oh, Dr. Bryant, golly, because you went to a place that, golly gee willikers, who did it? Because where did that come from that you want to give this back and forth as a professional girl? Okay, All right, because what I'm not going to do, and I kind of started vowing this like probably around before my birthday. I'm not going to go back and forth with you. I'm not arguing with you. I'm not arguing my truth with you. I said what I said, and I'm gonna go on about my day. Now I say that, right? But that man, that non-melanated man said what he said to me, and I literally lost like my like you need to mind your business. I'm in the library, y'all, where it's supposed to be quiet. And you're supposed to, I'm in the library. You need to mind your business. That is not how this works in here. I felt so bad. I felt so um it was out of my character. And it was out of my character because what I'm dealing with, I'm bleeding out. I'm literally bleeding out. So I'm sitting there, and the old me would have just been crying, just, oh my God, I just can't believe I act like that. But it was in that moment where Spirit was like, okay, so now you know better. Let's do better. Okay. But where did that come from? Figure out where that came from. And I was like, my mama. And he was like, yeah, your mother. Okay. Nobody else. No. And here's the thing, you guys, nobody else really F with me more than my mama. I don't know. And I'm like, ain't nobody else. There is really no friends, no best friends. Like I've had, girlfriends and things like that, women I've associated with, but nobody really, really did the damage that made me bleed out but my mama. And having that revelation, I said, okay, so now we still got some work to do. But I enjoy it. I enjoy learning these lessons so that I can give this to another woman, especially when you're in the workforce, especially if you're going to be an entrepreneur. You don't want to be that woman that's rah-rah and you who gonna check me, boo? And you talking about you're so dainty and you're so prissy and you this and whatever. When you look at Dr. Brown, you would never have thought that she was finna get, I mean, was finna get like, cussing people out and stuff. You're on multiple platforms and you out here acting bleeding out, talking to people messed up like that. There has to be some kind of decorum where you learn how to talk to a person and do it with, that's why he says, speak the truth in love. Speak your truth, but do it in a way that it's gonna cut you. That's when he said the word is swift, powerful, sharper than any double-edged sword. Okay, so I'm gonna make it swift, and I'm gonna make it powerful, and I'm gonna make it do what it do. I'm gonna make it divide this thing right here. Okay, I'm gonna make it divide what it needs to divide because me giving this man, and he's like, yeah, well, just forget it. And I thought, no, because I didn't come for you. You came for me. You came for me. So when we look at this, it's like she had several things against her. Okay. So sometimes it says that she was a woman. That's the first thing. Okay. She was a woman that was bleeding. Back then they didn't really want to deal with a woman that bled. Okay. How many of us now know that even when we go through our emotional traumas or we go through our daddy issues, our mommy issues, nobody wants to deal with us. They don't want to deal with us. They don't want to talk to us. They don't want to handle us. They don't want to hear us. They degrade us. They talk about us. They put us down. Even in business, they do this. Okay, so it's hard for us. She's so cute. Okay, and then it says she approached Jesus at one of the busiest times of his ministry. Now we can't talk to pastors, coaches, or anything. And what I heard when I remember one day I was driving, and what I heard was people don't want to um, see you at your worst. They want to see you when you have the material things. So they don't want to know what you go through when you're at the lowest of your lows, at your bottom. This is what did they say? Spirit, give me what you said. They don't want to, they judge you by what you have, not by what you went through. So you don't know what I've gone through. All you know is, oh, she drives a Mercedes, or, she's got these nice things, or, she don't look like, whatever. But you have no idea the things that I've gone through, how I've bled out on people, on my children. I've literally bled out on my kids because I was a wounded person and I didn't have anybody to go to. And then when you needed somebody at the busiest time, you didn't have that person to go to. Okay. It says her bleeding was considered unclean. We're unclean. We're unclean because of the things that we go through. Um, we're unclean because of the how we talk, or, well, I don't want to deal with her because she got too many kids, and, she got all these issues or whatever. When I tell you therapy is great, therapy is great. Okay, because I did therapy. Therapy is great. I probably need to go back. No, I don't want to say I need to go back to therapy. I need to get a mentor or a coach is what I need to get.
I think so
Um,
too.
you need to get a coach.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So I need to get a coach, maybe a mentor. I don't know. So going forward, it says the other gospels give more details, Mark 5:25 through 34. And okay. So though the woman was healed when she touched the word Jesus, it says she needed an encounter with him. She is the only person Jesus addressed as daughter. She is the only woman that he said daughter. So it's like we need to have that encounter with the word. Remember, I told you guys a while back, if you just touch a part of the word, you'll be made whole. Because touching a part of the word means, guess what? Now you have the encounter, what she had. She touched him, and now she's encountering this, and he's telling her, daughter, listen, go on and do what you got to do. He said, take heart, daughter, your faith has healed you. And the woman was healed at that very moment. Touching a part, and it was like in this version, it says, in the NIV, it says she touched the edge of his garment. So the edge just a little bit. Okay, it wasn't even like the full gamut of him. It was just, what is this? Jesus called the 12 disciples. It's like touching a part of the word. You're going to be made whole. And then you have this encounter where it's going to lead you into give us this day our daily bread. Okay, because now I want more of that. I need to encounter more of that. When you encounter more of that, then he teaches you financial, mental, emotional, spiritual, because then he starts to heal the wounds. Okay, so we're no longer bleeding out. We are able to take off the tourniquet, and he's able to say, okay, so your mom, she's been gone 15 whole years. Okay, we're gonna take this off, and we got to take it off because it's causing sepsis. It's causing infections. It's causing infections in your body, in your emotional, your mental, your financial, because she did so much damage. Can you understand that one person can do so much damage? So much damage. My mother damaged me mentally, spiritually, emotionally, financially. There's so much damage that she caused that caused all of this infectious stuff that went on in my life and in my body, in my mental, everything. This one woman, absolutely she did. Am I angry with her? No. Because, like we as mothers, we do the best that we can with what we have, with the knowledge that we have. We do the best that we can with the information that we received, So me learning the word and then spirituality and then the ancestors, the spirit guides, the angel guides, learning all of that has taken me down this path that I literally stopped at, and I was just like, "Yeah, I'm okay here. I don't need to do the whole thing. I don't need to do everything else." And they're just like, absolutely you do. You can't just stop here and think that you're going to get the full aspect of who I am. You got to go the full gamut, and this is a daily practice. So when we talk about the word was a daily practice. He got up every day and he did what he was supposed to do. Okay. So understanding that he calls us his daughter, we are his children, we are his daughters, right? And he says, hey, daughter, listen, your faith, it got you this far. I need you to go the gamut. Have the encounter with me. Sit with me. Learn my word. Learn my ways. Learn how I operate. Learn how what faith looks like. Learn how to trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not to what you understand, but in all your ways acknowledge me. I'll direct your path. I'll tell you which path to go on, because you're just sitting on this path and you're just like, I don't even know what to do now. And he's just like, no, if you trust me, I'll tell you where to go. That's what he said. Call unto me and I will answer. I will show you great and unsearchable things that you didn't even know. But you don't even talk to me. You don't even ask me for anything. And then you go into a business meeting, a multi-million-dollar business meeting, and you bleeding out on everybody. You go into your job and you start bleeding out on everybody. You go talking to your boyfriend, you start bleeding out on him, because everything that we have gone through has affected us. Can you imagine 12 years of just bleeding every day? 12 years, 12 years of bleeding. And you don't know why it's going on every day. Just another, here's another. Oh, I got to do this. I got to clean myself again. Where you can't focus on anything else but being trying to be clean, so that people don't know that you have a stench, or that you're going through something. Can you imagine that? Just going every day, you're just going through something, you're going through something, you're going through something, and people don't know. 12 years, I've been going through this. I've been going through this for 12 years. I've been going through this whole thing. I've been going through this for so many years, and people just really don't know until you say, that saying that says, um when you're sick and tired of being sick and tired. That's what it is. Okay. So there's a little thing up here. It says, so it's like a little story. And I know, Brianna, you have this Bible. So it says, for 12 years, this woman had suffered with chronic hemorrhaging. So chronic bleeding out. So I'm going to use the analogy of chronic issues. Chronic issues. 12 years, you're just dealing with the same thing, something different. It's this, it's that, it's this. It's just a constant thing, right? It says, visiting physicians had only given her more pain, depleted her funds, and left her worse than she had begun. We go to all these doctors, we go to these churches, we go to these ministers, we go to these different readers, we do all of these different things. Left me worse than what I was when I started. Okay. More pain, more anguish, because if I go to this church, they're not really giving me the word that I need. If I go to this reader, they're probably telling me something that I probably don't need to hear and filling me with something that is just not right, or if I go to this coach, they're telling me to do something that's out of the norm. It's like I'm worse off than what I started. So she had tried everything she could, have become a legitimate cynic. We become like, oh, God ain't gonna help me. That he's not gonna help me. Um, She said, it says, then she heard about Jesus. Then she heard about the word. Okay, the word in flesh. Now he's coming. Her approach
She
to
was a
Jesus.
Peter. Sorry.
Yeah,
She was a Peter.
yeah.
Doubt,
So
fear got in it.
it was like, well, he's probably not going to help me. Because here's the thing, think about it. I've gone to this person, I've gone to that person, I've gone to this church, I've gone to that church, I've gone to this reader, I've gone to this psychic, I've gone to this person, I've done all of these things. I've left depleted. I've gone to this credit person, I've gone to this relationship coach, I've done all of these things. I've done all of these things and I'm broke. Nothing has changed. I'm just worse off than what I was when I started. I'm broke down. I'm more busted. That saying that I'm busted in the sky. I'm more emotionally messed up, because what started hasn't even stopped. Now I'm broke. I don't have anything. People is talking about me. I don't have no relationships. I don't know how I'm gonna make it, and it's just this vicious cycle that I keep going through. How do I break it? How do I break this thing? Okay. So then it says her approach to Jesus was different from the most. She came from behind and touched the edge and felt unworthy to talk to him. Whew, how many of us do that? God, I'm not worthy to even pray to you. So we don't. I'm unworthy to even sit down and break bread with you, because of I'm unclean, or because of what people have said about me. because now I read tarot cards. God, I can't come talk to you because they said that I'm practicing witchcraft. They think I'm a witch, God. And, he's like, but I called you to that. I'm, you're, I called you to that. That's a whole different thing. But think about it. We come from behind. And we do it in such a way that we're just like, God, maybe I'll just sneak up on him. That way I don't have to face him. That way I don't have to put my face to him. That way he don't really get to see it's really me and what I'm really going through because I just want this one thing healed. I just want to stop bleeding out. Everything else, it'll take care of itself. Okay. So they said she came from behind. Um, because she felt unworthy to talk to him, fearful because she was unclean, because of what the other rabbis or what the other churches said. Well, you got kids. You're unwed with children. What you No, we can't help you. You'll never get a man. That's what a lot of churches say. You know you ain't gonna get no man. Well, if you can't pay your tithes, then ain't no sense in you. Okay. So she came from behind touch. It says, she approached me a different way. She came from behind and touched the edge of her garment, felt unworthy, fearful because of her uncleanness. Um, oh, I skipped a part. She came from behind and touched the edge of the outer garment, hoping no one, including Jesus, would notice. We are not told whether she felt unworthy to talk to him, fearful because of her uncleanness, or concerned that there would be no chance of an audience with him in such a crowd. We are told that she had enough faith in the person of Christ to believe that just touching his clothes would prove life-changing, and she was right. Though the passage makes clear that her body was healed at that time, she reached out to him. That's not enough for Jesus. He wanted to give her more. Woof. Jesus came to an abrupt halt. He stopped. He demanded, "Who who called me? Who touched me?"
Is this the woman who touched the hem of
Yes.
Jesus?
Yes.
Okay.
He demanded, "Who touched me?" He said. The disciples were incredulous. What is he talking about? Can you imagine him sitting around talking about what's he talking about? Do you see all these people around him? And he asking who touched him? How you know somebody touched you, Jesus? How you know? How you know somebody touched you? You see there's thousands of people. I mean, people's just surrounded you. And how you know somebody touched you? But Jesus is tripping. Shoot. Jesus. They saw many, but he saw one.
Mm.
Power had gone out of him, but his power had not been depleted. The healing had not been completed. She was more than a hemorrhaging body. She was a needy woman. We are more. God, I thank you. We are more than just women bleeding out. We are women that need. God, we have a need. We have needs. Okay? When this woman contacted God, he knew and she knew. Though there was no other aware, Jesus would not move until she approached him. Okay, so I heard you. Come on. I I felt you. So come
Can you
on
give
and
me the
sit and talk
page
to me.
number?
Huh?
Can you tell me the page number?
That is on 1385, Matthew chapter
Thank you.
9 in this Bible. 1385.
That's my 1385. Thank you.
hmm Jesus would not move until she approached him. Her approach was a three-faceted. She came forward trembling with fear, fell down at his feet, and told the whole truth. You can't give him half the truth. You can't give him some. You got to give him the truth, and nothing but the truth. God, listen. My mama messed with me. My stepdaddy messed with me. My uncle messed with me. His brothers messed with me. There were so many people that just bothered. They touched me in ways, God, and it's not so much as it was a verbal thing, but God, it was also a physical thing where they violated me as a little girl, as a woman. God, and then she was so abusive to me verbally, God, that it just broke me. And I don't even know how to take this, God, but this is what I got going on. And now, because of that, I don't even know how to be with a man. I fear the touch of a man. I fear falling in love with a man because now, God, I've been hurt by this person and he hurt me so much, but I loved him. And then he went on and died. And so now I don't have anybody. And so now I'm out here and I'm really struggling with my relationships. I'm struggling with the relationship with my children because I'm so more into my masculine than I am in my feminine. God, I got a lot going on. And so I don't know how to do this. And now I'm realizing, God, that I do need to have my credit. I'm 53 years old, God. And so I'm really struggling with my money and I really want to get my money right. And God, I don't want to be out here continually working a job when you told me to work a business and I don't even know how to do that because everything else is going on. And so now I'm really struggling. Then I'm keep messing with this dude and I really don't really like him. But God, he's there, and I know he takes care of, but am I wrong? And I want to feel love. I want to fall in love. I want to know what that feels like. I want to be able to taste and see that you are good. But God, sometimes I just feel like you don't hear me. This is the truth. Okay. This is what she did. Okay. Um, he gave her a fourfold response. He gave her daughter an intimate and endearing term, assured her that her body was healed by her faith, not his clothes, sent her away free from all anxiety, go in peace, and healed her soul. Between the healing of a demon possessed man and the raising of a dead girl, this woman's situation could be considered a lesser concern by human measurements, but not by Christ. He stops for everyone. That's what he's telling us. Okay. I like that. Tell me the truth. When you sit with God, tell him the truth. Okay.
I know, God, this body tired of working.
He
I
get
can't do it no more.
died. Okay.
Tired that work is just messing me up, Lord. You
So
know
you,
it.
yeah.
I'm
So
grateful to have a job, but I can't do the physical work. Keep on doing it. It's hurting my body. You know I can't keep doing it. You know every day I come home, I'm tired. I'm exhausted. So hear my cry, Lord. If you hear me, hear me.
yeah, just touch a part of him. So what he's saying is when we get to this place, when you really look at what he's saying, this woman has gone through 12 years of a crisis. Okay. It says this 12 years suffered chronic hemorrhaging. So daily for 12 years, this woman was bleeding every day.
I'm surprised she didn't die.
Okay. 12 years, 12 whole years. She went and she just bled and she just bled and she just bled and she just bled. And, she probably went to to doctor after doctor and after doctor. And they was like, probably went to the church and they was like, nah, we can't even mess with you. And this is the banger of it all is she couldn't even go to the church because she was a bleeding woman and they deemed her unclean.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't even go to the church to tell them that, hey, can y'all pray for me? Okay. Can you say a little prayer for your girl? Okay. 12 years. I've been dealing with it 12 years. So majority of us have been dealing with situations and circumstances that are chronic for years. And I'm not even
Mm-hmm.
talking 12 years, but years. We've been dealing with chronic issues, okay, that are just taking over every part of our life because it said visiting physicians um, had only given her more pain, depleted her funds, and left her worse than she began. Okay, we going to to people that doctors, and we funding all these people that we just leave out the same way. This is what I heard Spirit say. It's like um, we go to the church, and this is one of the things that I was thinking about the other day. How is it that people go into the church uh, one way and they leave the same way they came? With your nasty attitude, with your nasty disposition, with your supercilious ways, with your judgment. You go in that way and you come out the same way. What God told
They
me,
ain't
I
want
was
nothing.
I was driving down the street and he said, "Listen, do you remember when you went into the Holy of Holies?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "There was only one way in and one way out." He said, "You could come out the same way you went in." That's why he said the blessings of the Lord maketh rich and addeth no sorrow. Why would you come to church? If you come to church sorrowful, you should leave out of the church happy and joyful. That's what he's talking about. You cannot come into the house of the Lord this one way, chronic, bleeding, depleted, and leave out the same way. The same way, the same way you went in is the same way you come out. No, I'm finna touch a part of this word. I'm getting that. Okay. I got to get this word. I got to get what I need to get. I'm not going in the same way that I came out. So it's like when you go into your prayer closet, baby, when you go in broken down, busted and disgusted, God, this was a chronic thing that I got going on here. You best believe you're finna come out a whole different person. Think about Abraham Moses, when he went up to the mountain. He went up to the mountain one way. He came back. He had a whole glow. That's how I want to come out. I want to come out of prayer like, huh, listen, he's a changer of things. He said, I'll change the situation. And she said within herself, she knew. I've been hearing about this God, this Jesus person. So let's put it in perspective. I've been hearing about this Jesus. And he's been walking this earth, and I've been hearing he's been healing people, been hearing this. But here's what I don't want to do. I don't want to get in front of this man and he not heal me, or even walk past him and he not recognize that I got a chronic issue, that I'm depleted, God, that I am broken, that I am broke, that I don't have anything else. I have given everything that I had to people that I thought was supposed to care for me, people that I thought was supposed to heal me, people that I thought were supposed to care for me, people that I thought were supposed to help me level up. But God, I don't have nothing else. I don't want to face him. Let me just touch a part of him just to see. You know, when he says, try me and see, when I open up a window of heaven and pour you out a blessing you won't have room enough to receive. That's exactly what happened. Because she said, if I could just touch a part of him, I know I'm gonna be made whole. If I could just touch just a piece, she said within herself. Okay. She said to herself, if I only touch his cloak, I will be healed. Because she knew that there was power in him. And because if the power is in him, it has to be on him. That's a message for somebody. If it's in him, it's got to be on him. Okay. If the power's in him, it's got to be on him. Let me just touch him. Because I've heard about him, but let me just see for myself. She touched him. He turned around and was like, hey, hey, who was it? Who was it? He said, take heart, daughter. Now this is in the NIV. I need to read it out of,
I don't think it's in King James. It's
yes, it's in all parts of the Bible. They just word it differently.
oh,
So I know they mentioned it in Mark. Where was it? Where was it? Oh, it's down here. Mark 5:25. Matthew, Mark. So each disciple saw things differently. They viewed what he had did differently. Matthew, Mark chapter 5. Okay, 5 verse 25. It says, a woman who was there had been subject to bleeding for 12 years. So this is Mark's version. She had suffered a great deal under the care of many doctors and had spent all she had, yet instead of getting better, she grew worse. When she heard about Jesus, she came up behind him in the crowd and touched his cloak because she thought, okay, let this mind be in the word, which is also in Christ Jesus. Okay. It's like the subconscious mind, the thought of a thing. She thought within herself, if I just touch his clothes, I'll be healed. Okay. Immediately her bleeding stopped and she felt in her body that she was freed from suffering. Okay. She knew then, in that moment, it is finished. Okay. At once, Jesus realized, now something done happened. Somebody with some faith done hit me. He said, and the power had gone out of him. He turned around in the crowd and said, who touched my clothes? You see the disciples crowding against you. His disciples answered. He said, you see these people crowding against you? He said, and yet you can ask who touched you? So you know somebody touched you. That's the power of the word. He know when you touch him. Okay. But Jesus kept looking around to see who had done it. Then the woman who had done the woman, knowing what had happened to her, came and fell at his feet, trembling with fear, and told him the whole truth. He said to her, daughter, your faith has healed you. Go in peace and be freed from your suffering. Okay. So he knows everything that's happening. Let's see, 527, it says, anyone touched by this woman who was bleeding would be made unclean. However, oh, let me go back. Okay. So at the bottom of this Bible, they have a lot of um, like help to kind of navigate you through the scriptures. So verse 527, it says, anyone touched by this woman who was bleeding would be made unclean. However, when she touched Jesus, he made her clean. Okay. So let me go back because there was another scripture. Then I'm gonna get off. Where are we at? Oh, Luke. So Matthew, Mark, and Luke, those three saw what he did, witnessed what he did, but each one of them have a different way, a different verbiage of how they saw what they saw. So Luke 8:43 through 48. Okay, so um, we're going to start at 43. And a woman was there who had been subject to bleeding for 12 years, but no one could heal her. Okay. So you see how the different verbiages and the different way they saw a thing and the different way they tell the story. One said she had went through, didn't have no money and she lost everything. The second one said, well, she done been with somebody 12 years. She done did everything and she lost and she was the same. He says, Luke says, no one, no one could heal her. Okay. Um, where am I at? Oh, no one could hear her. She came up behind him and touched the edge of his cloak, and immediately her bleeding stopped. Who touched me? Jesus asked. When they all denied it, so people were like, What me? I don't know. Who touched you? Okay. Peter said, Master, you see all these people? Okay, crowding and pressing up against you. Somebody had to touch you. But Jesus said, someone touched me, and I know that power has gone out from me. I felt something happen. Okay, when this person touched me. And the reason I know is because their faith. Okay. This was a need. The woman, seeing that she could got not go unnoticed, came trembling and fell at his feet. In the presence of all the people, she told why she had touched him and how she had been instantly healed. Then he said to her, daughter, your faith has healed you. Go in peace. So let's see. Oh, they don't have anything on this part. So this is what God is saying to you or to us today. Yes. Have we been going through some things? Absolutely. Has it been treacherous? Absolutely. Has it been consecutive years? Absolutely. Remember, I told you guys we are in a time now where things need to be rectified. Things need to be cleansed. Things need to be made whole. Things need to be severed. Okay. So Brianna, when we're talking about the tourniquet, it's like we gotta cut these things off. The dead things have to go. We can't keep holding on to what mama said, cousin said, Pookie said, my cousin Sharika said. We don't need to keep holding on to them. Okay. We need to just go ahead and let the sleep, I have that saying that says, let sleeping dogs lay. Let it die. Whatever happened, it happened. We got to let it die. But what I'm doing is I have to be able to allow you to see that this is happening to you. Okay. You are bleeding out. You cannot be a businesswoman and then if something happens, it triggers you and then you instantly start bleeding out all over the place with people that really don't know the inner parts or the thing that you struggle with for years. This woman struggled with bleeding for 12 years. We struggle with our mommy issues, our daddy issues, with our financial issues, with our mental health, with our emotional health, with our spiritual. We struggle. And because we struggle with it, we start bleeding out over people that don't even know us, that have no idea what we've been through. That man didn't even know that what he said to me, that's why I attacked him. Ho. Because guess why? I know I'm smart. I know I'm intelligent. I know I'm articulate. I know that I'm a good person. I know me. I knew then I was smart, but I allowed one woman to tell me if you had common sense to try to make me dummy myself down as if I wasn't smart enough to go to college, if I wasn't smart enough to even be in a relationship, that I wasn't smart enough to navigate in a situation the way she wanted me to navigate it in. So in that moment, now I don't have the common sense because it didn't go the way she thought it should go, just like with the man. Well, you should have just held the door for her. Well, if you know the rules here, that's not how that works, sir. And because I didn't do what he thought I should have done, now it's if you had common sense. The trigger that triggered in me, I thought, hold up. It was the common sense. It wasn't even him. It wasn't anything else. It was the fact that that man said, if you had common sense, as if I wasn't smart enough to turn around to tell her, because that's where the conversation was going, make sure that you let them know that I've returned, that I gave this to you. And you would dare, sir, say common sense? The trigger that it set me aflame, just wha- right? So that was for me. So think about the things that we have gone through 12, just years of just anguish, years of everything, years of going to therapist after therapist, and they could never get to the root. Or it was because we decided we didn't want to be consistent in getting the help that we needed. Now this says this woman went through everything, like she had did everything that she knew to do. That's what it says. But you think about those women that where we start out doing the thing and then we stop the process because it's just like, well, this ain't working for me, so I'm just gonna go ahead. So this is what Spirit wants me to tell you. I went to the doctor and um, before I had went to the doctor, I had kind of before the new year was coming. I wanted to renew myself. I wanted to get back to a different place. I felt the belly fat, like I felt the back fat. Oh, it's horrible. It's such a horrible feeling. Um, I don't like the fact that when I bend over, my underwear rolls down, it rolls down in the front. I don't like the feeling. I didn't like the feeling of, just this pressure like in my stomach. It was so much being winded just walking up the stairs, not being able to, not wanting to do anything. It just got to a point where I just said, I cannot live like this, not at this age. So I vowed to myself that I was going to take care of my health and that I was going to start working out again because I got all the equipment and I was like, I just need to work out. So I started working out and I started doing, the normal exercises. So I'm going to pause there and I'm going to go back a year ago. A year ago, I started doing these things because I know that I got some situations, right? I know there's some things that I got dealing with my body. I want to look good in my clothes. I want them to fit properly. I don't want to have the fupa, and I want to have the nice boom boom and I want to have the nice legs. I just want to feel comfortable in my body. Um, and so I had started this process a year ago and then I stopped. Okay. I stopped. I was going, then I stopped. And then I was going to the gym, membership stopped. And so I just stopped going to the rec center because we had a little thing at the rec center. So I just stopped going to the rec center altogether. whopping $5 that I could have allotted $15 3 days out of the week to go to the gym, to the rec center. I just, oh, it's not working. I quit. I'm not consistent. Okay. So I then just kind of just let it be. Because to me, when I looked at myself, I'm not that big, but so I thought, like, I'm like, oh, I don't, because my height, I don't look the weight that I am. So I said, I need to get myself healthy because I could feel the roll. I actually measured as an inch. I had a whole inch that I was just like, dear baby Jesus, I got to get rid of an inch of fat. There's no way that I'm going to sit down and feel the roll just look. I didn't like, I just did. This is when, when you get sick and tired of being sick and tired. I was sick and tired of sitting, having this roll just folding over, my underwear falling down, rolling over. Um, and you could see my legs not, I just didn't like it. So I decided that I was going to get healthy. Um, New Year rolls around, I go to the doctor, get some blood work done because I'm like, something's not right. Something's, things are just feeling weird. And so what Spirit is saying, they told me, ain't nothing wrong with you. Spirit there, and I was like, well, Spirit, what is wrong? And they said, why does something always have to be wrong? Why can't it be right? Why can't you be going the right direction? Why do you always have to think that there's something wrong? You are not your mother. I said, yeah, you're right, you're right, you're right. All right, you're right. So they said things are changing. So when you start losing a thing, come on here with this word. When you start losing things, things start falling off. It may not fall off as fast as you would want it to fall off, but baby, it's working. So I go to the doctor and I'm like, oh, it just hurts all on this side. I said, what is over here? And she's just like, well, it's your kidney. Well, your kidney's back here. And I was like, but it just hurts all in here. Just, oh my God, what is it? And so I was like, I don't know. So they did an x-ray and she was like, well, you are a little blocked up. They saw that. And I was just like, okay, well, I could feel it. And so um I got to start eating differently, right? And then my blood work came back. My cholesterol is like out this roof. And I was just like, oh my gosh. So as I'm working out, there are days that I feel like you could feel like, oh, I feel great. And then there are days when I started working out, I felt like I was big, like I was huge. And so it's because your body is doing something that it normally never would have done. Okay. Now you're starting this whole nother process where you're trying to get rid of something that you've been holding on to for 12 years. Okay. Been holding on to body fat, just fat, just freaking fat, just an inch, a whole fucking inch. Like if you pinch it, it's just like, oh, this is not great, right? So back fat, you could feel the back fat coming out of your bra. You could just feel like it's not as bad as it used to be, but you could just feel it. So I was like, I gotta tone up. I don't want to be muscular, but I want to be toned. I want to look good in a swimsuit. I want to look good. I just want to look good when I take my clothes off. I just want to like, you know, I want my boobies perkier. Just so there's certain things that you have to do. So what am I saying? I'm saying that when we think about the tourniquet, when we're holding on to body fat, when we're holding on to sickness, illness, anything that has to do with something in the body, there's a lady named Louise Hay, and she has a book that says you can heal yourself. And so Louise Hay had did this whole study, years of a study, that when she would meet people, they would come in and they would have like heart conditions and things like that. And so she would really kind of say, okay, so this is the reason why you're going through what you're doing, is because you're holding on to emotional issues. So our body really speaks to us in a way that says, hey, you need to take care of us. So if we talk about in the spiritual work of a woman who's bleeding out, okay, hemorrhaging, you are literally needing to get rid of something. So when we talk about a woman who's hemorrhaging now, that let's go ahead and get rid of that whole uterus. You cannot give birth to anything else. Okay. You've probably given birth too many times. Let's just go ahead and we got to get rid of it. Okay. It is hurting you more than you think it's helping you. So think about a business idea. You keep trying to do this business, you keep trying to do this thing, and nothing is happening. And it's like you're just bleeding out. It's like let's just do something else. Okay. It may be that, you've it's not working for you. Let's try something else. Um, and it may not be meant for you to give birth to it. It may be meant for someone else to give birth to that thing, and you just work alongside of them, right? So, talking about that in this kind of text is like when you think about what I'm going through, like going through a health change, it's like, oh, okay, well, I got to stop eating that. I got to start doing this. I got to start doing that. Oh, I got to eat this. Can't eat this anymore. Oh, I got to limit the sugar. So, there's so many things that you got to get rid of. So, when we talk about the tourniquet, it's like we've holded on. It's not a word. We've held on to so many things that literally are killing us, spiritually killing us, that we can't see it. And so God is like, I need to open your eyes to some things, because if you keep going this route, when it comes to harvest time, you ain't going to have nothing to harvest, because everything that you tried to plant is dead. It's something that you probably shouldn't even plant it. No, we ain't gonna plant no roses this year. Okay, we need to plant something that's going to benefit you. Maybe a lemon tree, maybe an apple tree, maybe a banana tree. I don't know, but it's going to be something that's going to give you the nutrition that you need. Something that's going to help you get to that next place. So if we talk about in spirituality, yeah, okay, so you've done a lot of, the readings. Let's go to meditation now. Let's stop that and let's go to this thing. Okay? Because now you've tried everything and clearly that's not working. So let's go to the next thing, which is let's do some meditation. You could probably still do that, but let's not plant that seed and think that that's the only thing that's going to continue to grow.
Mm-hmm.
Let's add something else to it. Okay, so things need to die. We really need to get rid of old behaviors, our mommy issues, our daddy issues, our financial issues, our spiritual issues, our mental health, our emotional health, self-care. What do those things look like when we get into the aspect of saying where we want to be, and then really understanding that when we go before our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Give me this day my daily bread, and forgive me my debts as I forgive my debtors. Lead me not into temptation, but deliver me from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen. God, listen, she telling them the truth. Okay. I touched you because I got some stuff cracking. Okay. I've been doing this 12 years. I've been doing the same thing on a different day. 12 years, God, I was bleeding out. I was emotionally messed up. I'm financially messed up, God. I'm spiritually messed up. Do you know it's hard for me to even really give myself to a man and really mean it? God, do you know how hard it is for me to really understand why I'm in this financial situation and then learning where the damage came from? God, that hurts me, because now I feel, because she has gone over, that now I feel like I'm betraying her and who she was to me. God, I'm really tired of this. I'm tired of feeling like I'm never going to accomplish anything because of what she said and the seeds that she planted in my life, the seeds that she planted in my soul, the seeds that she planted for me financially, the seeds that she put inside of me when her husband sexually violated me. All of those things, God, I'm weary in this. I'm tired. I've been dealing with this chronic issue for so long, and God, I'm tired. Okay. I just need to touch you. And in the morning time, God, I'm here. And I just want you to know that I don't know how to do, I don't know where to go, but God, I've done everything that I've known to do. And now you're telling me, God, to trust in the Lord with all my heart and lean not to my own understanding, but God, in all my ways to acknowledge you and you'll direct my path. So, God, I thank you for directing my path to just this scripture right here. I thank you for directing my path to just let me know in Psalm 65:11 that you said that you would crown my years with the bounty and my carts overflow with abundance. God, that's what you told me. God, I thank you, Father God, that you told me if I call upon you, that you'll answer me and you'll show me great and unsearchable things that I don't even know. God, you told me that you know what you're doing. So because you know what you're doing, I have to trust you and I have to pray without ceasing. God, I have to know that my faith, the size of a mustard seed, that I can tell this chronic situation to move from here to there and it has to obey. And because this woman said within herself the thought that if I can just touch a part of his clothing, I'll be made whole, that I won't have to deal with this chronic situation no more, never. So, God, I thank you for giving us the revelation of understanding who you are in this time and for us to be able to be revealed and to be able to be open and understand that everything that we are going through is a revelation of of us understanding that we are your daughters, that you are Abba Father, that you're my daddy, that I can come to you and tell you everything and lay at your feet and tell you my truth. And there will be no judgment, but that you'll tell me that I can go free because my faith has healed me. So I thank y'all for coming
Oh, amen. That was
tonight.
beautiful.
So next, Cindy, we are going to do the book. And I know I gave you guys a video on what needs to take place. All right. So a couple of days at the beginning of the year, I got a word from God and he was talking and he mentioned to me Genesis 1 and 1. And I was just, up and I'm having the conversation and he said Genesis 1 and 1. No, 1 and 1, but Genesis 1 and 2. And I'm going to read it out of the NIV because I don't have any other. Um, hold on real quick. Okay, so this is the message. First, this God created the heavens and the earth. All you see, all you don't see. Earth was a soup of nothingness, a bottomless emptiness, an inky blackness. God's spirit brooded like a bird above the watery abyss. God spoke light, and light appeared. I'm going to go back to the Amplified because I wasn't recording. In the beginning, God, Elohim, created by forming from nothing the heavens and the earth. The earth was formless and void, or a waste and emptiness, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, primeval ocean that covered the unformed earth. The Spirit of God was moving, hovering, brooding over the face of the waters. Verse 3, and God said, let there be light, and there was light. That's the Amplified. The NIV reads, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Now the earth was formless and empty. Darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. And God said, let there be light, and there was light.
Okay.
So he says to me, into the void or the formless. Yes. Hold on. Okay. So what he told me was into the void formless or the formless. Okay. And then we're going to go to John 1 and 1. Okay. So remember Genesis 1, 2, and 3, verses 1, 2, and 3. Now we're going to go to John 1 and 1.
John 1 and 1.
Yep.
One.
Okay. The word became flesh. This is in the NIV. John 1 and 1 says, in the beginning was the Word was God, And the word, wait, in the beginning was the word, and the word was with God, and the word was God. He was with God in the beginning. Throughout him all things were made. Without him nothing was made that had been made. In him was life, and that life was the light of all
Of men.
mankind. The light shines in darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. Okay, that's the NIV. Message. The word was first, the word present to God, God present to the word. The word was God, in readiness of God from day one. Everything was created through him. Nothing, not one thing, came into being without him. What came into existence was life, and that life was light to live by. The life light blazed out of darkness, and darkness couldn't put it out. That is the message. Now we're going to the amplified. In the beginning, before all time, was the word, Christ. Okay. And the word was with God, and the word was God himself. Genesis 1. Okay. He was continually existing in the beginning, co eternally with God. All things were made and came into existence through him. And without him, not even one thing was made that has come into being. Without him, not even one thing was made that has come into being. In him was life and the power to bestow life, and the life was the light of men. The light shines on in the darkness, and the darkness did not understand it or overpower it or appropriate it or absorb it, and it is unreceptive to it. Okay, so putting it all together, God said, speak into the void. What is the thing that is void in your life right now? What is the void? What is the emptiness? What is the inky blackness? What is the soupy thing that we got going on? What is the chronic issue that we have going on? It's empty. It's void. Okay. There's nothing there. Okay. So when I researched and I understood when I was, talking to God, God gave me three things: God, Spirit, and Jesus. God is the character or the power. He is the Father. Okay. Daddy. Okay. What we learn is the power through the Father. Okay. Men are when we walk in our masculine. No. Yeah. In my truck. Okay. So God, the character. This is the character. This is how, when we, as when you see a daughter and her father, she looks at her daddy, that's my daddy. If they have that relationship, right? You have the relationship with him, that's my daddy. Okay. Then we got spirit. It's the wind or the breath of God, the Holy Spirit. Okay. That's the breath or the wind, the thing that blows into our life. Jesus is the living word. He is the Son. Okay. So then he gave me created. So there are certain things that when we talk about when he created, he it's called bara in Hebrew, to make from nothing. Okay. When he says to speak into the void, God created the heavens and the earth. He created something out of nothing. So when we're talking about your land, remember when I told you when you see your land, you are creating something out of nothing. Out of the nothingness in your life, you are creating something by speaking to the void. Okay, we're going to get to that part. Um, the other verbs used for God's creative activity. God was a creator. Okay, we are creators. I'm going to get to that. He made, the Hebrew is asha. He built, the Hebrew is bana, and he formed, the Hebrew is yatsar. Okay. So he created, he built, well, he made, he created, and he formed. So he did all of these things. And this is what he said to us. If I be in you and you be in me, we are
One.
okay. He said to me, when I spoke in the Old Testament, I was just a voice that they heard. I would tell them to do a thing and they followed. Had not Noah followed the instructions, there would not been an ark. Had not Moses heard the voice in a bush, they would not have been freed. They would not have crossed the dry land. He would not have known to raise his hands. Jacob would not have known, Abraham would not have known to turn and look and see a ram in the bush. David would not have known to make a palace and know the cubits and the feet and what kind of wood to use. They would not have known that. Esther would not have known how to free the people of Persia. I was a still small voice that they heard. Okay. Job, David, Samuel, Elijah, Elisha, all of them in the Old Testament were the minor prophets and major prophets. They heard the voice. Jonah wouldn't have known, I'm not going. So well, then you're going to be in a whale. He would not have known to go to Nineveh and tell the people what I told them to tell them. I'm not going. I'm a Jonah. Okay. Anyway, fast forward. He said, then I stopped speaking for 400 years because I wanted the people, when I gave my voice in the beginning, I wanted people to really know that I am a voice. You hear me, okay? But people weren't, they didn't pick up what I was putting down. And this is how what I'm getting in when he told me. They didn't pick up what I was putting down when I was talking to Noah and Moses and Abraham and Isaac and Elisha and Elijah. They didn't pick up what I was putting down. Samuel and all. They didn't understand that. So I thought, well, all right. So then here I come back on the scene in Matthew. Okay. Then I get to John 1 and 1, where I'm telling you, in the beginning, I was the word. But then what I did is now, because I have to get you to understand what I was telling you 400 years ago, then now I got to create a man in my image, because that's what I did. I created man in my image. But I had to create a son, and I had to birth him through a woman so
Yes, you
you'd
did.
understand who he was. Because if he just walked up on the scene, you wouldn't have really believed that he was who I said he was. So I had to birth him through a woman. Okay, let him
Mm-hmm.
go through the whole process. Power, because here's what he's saying is the same power that he has when he was in utero is the same power that you have. Because remember when he said, he told Samuel before Samuel, one of them, he said, I knew you before you was in your mama's womb. I knew you.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus was the same way. Before he got into Mary, I knew him
Mm-hmm.
because I am him. Okay. So I know you. Before you were formed, I know your thoughts. I know everything about you because I formed you in my image. I put you in your mother's womb so that when you came into this world, that you would be able to have power to do what Jesus did. Okay. Now, Jesus comes into the world. He's formed in his mother's womb. He is created, and then he comes into the world. He does his normal childhood things, and then at 30, boom, here he is. Now we got a mission. Now I'm going to tell you who I really am. Okay. Now I got power. I'm doing this. And so what he told the 12 disciples is he said, when they came, this was before the woman with the issue of blood.
Mm-hmm.
The 12 disciples came across a man whose son was deep, who had a demon, and they couldn't cast him out. So he went to Jesus and was like, well, how come we couldn't cast him out? And Jesus said, listen, you wicked people. I'm telling you what to do. I'm showing you everything that you need to do. Okay. This don't come out but by prayer and fasting. Now, I could do 40 days and 40 nights. Was I weary? Absolutely. But 40 days, that's how you get the power. I'm showing you who you are just in flesh, in earth, in flesh, because you didn't get it when I was in the spirit. Now I got to come
Right.
down in flesh. Okay. So that's what he's
Right.
telling us. All right. So he said, now everything that I'm doing, I'm teaching you because I'm going to die. Okay. In earthly form, I'm going to die, but I'm going to come back in 3 days.
And
Okay.
through that.
When we sing the song, you are the living word, that's what we're telling you. He is the word living in flesh and moving in the earth. That
Mm-hmm.
is who we are. If he is in us and we are in him, we are the living word in flesh. So he said, Tarina, what is the void in your life? And I was like, I have a lot. He said, well, speak to it. Tell light to come to it. Let there be a relationship, healthy, loving, prosperous relationship. Let there be, clients coming to me. That's what he did, right? I'm just saying. Okay. If we read Genesis 1 and 1, that's exactly what he did. Am I not right?
You're right. He
All
said,
right.
let it be light, let it be dark. Everything he spoke into the world, and it came.
Okay. He said, and let there be light, and there was light. He
Mm-hmm.
spoke into the emptiness, the void, or the
Mm-hmm.
waste.
He sure did.
Okay.
And I bet that for myself. That's true.
He spoke into this inky blackness, this bottomless emptiness, this chronic thing that we just keep going through and going through and going through. He spoke to it and said, let there be. Okay. The woman within herself said, let me, there's got to be something. Let me speak to that thing. Let me be healed. And she said, if I just touch a part of him, I know I'll be made whole. See how the
Mm-hmm.
word just comes together? It just connects. It's like pieces to a puzzle that just connects. And we connect it if we study it. That's why he told me, he said, that's why I told you to study to show yourself approved. When you're studying, you're not studying for another person. You're studying so that you can show yourself approved, not in so much as in the world, but just in the works that you do. That's why he said, you will know them by their fruits.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they knew Peter, Paul, James, John, all of that's why they knew the 12 disciples, because the 12 disciples started practicing and was like, oh, okay, so we're wicked up, let us get it together. Okay, this is the time that we are in. We got to get it together in this time, start birthing out what he told us to do in the emptiness and in the void, and then this murky nothingness and this bottomless pit that we are in. If we think about Joseph, Joseph was in a pit, but he never stopped believing in the thing that he spoke to his brothers. And the church said, Amen. All right. So y'all got that? Got your homework?
I
Homework
got my
is
homework.
write
Brianna.
down what is the chronic issue.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What is the pain that it has caused you? How has it depleted you? And and are you worse off than you started? And then I want you to sit and I want you to wait and I want you to document when you touch God. You got 5 days. Every time you do this for 5 days. And in that 5 days, it'll go to 6 days, and then it'll go to 7 days, then it'll go to eight, then it'll go to
When I
10,
touch
then it'll
God.
go to 20, then it'll go to 30, and then it'll be a consistent thing where you're having this relationship with God to where he says, hey, daughter, I heard you. So let's go ahead and take care of this. Okay.
So when I have what you say when I touch God is I'm telling him,
Yes. When you talk to him, you tell him what's the chronic issue. Okay. What is
okay,
the emptiness? What's the chronic thing that you keep going through? This woman was chronically ill. She was
okay, okay.
bleeding out. God, I am bleeding out in my relationships. I'm bleeding out. God, I'm bleeding. This is chronic. It's a chronic thing. What is the chronic thing that you are continually dealing with that has caused you pain, that is depleted you, that you are worse off than what you started? What is it? You document what he says. You tell him what you got going on. Tell him the unadulterated truth. God, I'm tired and I'm upset and I'm mad and I'm pissed off that all these people are gaining and I'm losing and I'm still in this same old place and I'm still in this funky apartment with these people downstairs. I'm still doing the same thing. That's what you talk to him. Be honest with him. He would rather you be honest than to lie.
Okay.
Because what if
So
that
that's
woman
my
had walked away and not said, well, it was me? She knew. He's finna, he knows. He already knows. That's what he said. I know what you need, what you have need of before you even ask me. So you thought you was finna come touch me and then leave and not tell me what was really going on? That's what you thought? No. Tell me what's going on. Tell me the truth.
okay. I'm telling the truth.
Yep. So tell him the truth. All right, y'all. I love y'all.
I love you too. Bye
Have
bye.
fun in Vegas.
Or thank you.